Oh yeah, I can hear it. Woohoo! I can hear the inverter too. Man! Alright, let's plug this in so that I don't drain the battery on my internet. I'm getting excited thinking about the possibilities. I hadn't thought about it before. I'd like to do, in this era, the beerfluenza epidemic, I'd like to do live streams where I actually talk to people on like Zoom and things, you know, and that'd be about the only way I could interview people in the car, and I could use the phone to do that. It just dawned on me. I think maybe my internet needs to get more reliable than it is, but I promised to go around the clock in this beautiful, gorgeous Liberty Square. Oops, that was a distraction. That was my Osmo Pocket 2 selfie stick. I didn't put it up in the case. I set it on the case and it just slid off. There's the Jesse James Bank Museum. Somewhere around here is the appropriately named Liberty Jail. I think the jail is the last place you would find liberty, but I stopped over here at this tea place and got 2 ounces of Earl Grey Captain Picard tea. Sometime we have to try Huey's. Let's see if they have decent coffee. Be a nice place to sit. And I just shot an addition to my vlog. My Travel America's Backroads is where you'll find us vlog. Alright, I'm kind of going the long way. What other way is there? Sorry about all that windshield glare. You can only do so much. I could probably try and experiment around with mounts where I could mount it to the roof or something like that. That would be a fun shot. It would also be kind of increase the difficulty factor. William Jewell College is straight ahead, and this is one of the main north-south thoroughfares. Buddha and more Jimmy. He heard his name. What's up, pup? I can walk down this street someday with the town. It's not, you know, it's like living in a small town, but you have access to the city. Towns out there that have issues. Place in a good position. I don't think crime rate is anything to worry about here. I've been watching these videos by this guy, and I think it's influencing me. This guy, he basically drives around small towns, mostly in Illinois. I think he lives in Illinois, and he calls himself, and I don't know if he moved to that town and the bad things. I haven't done much research, so I don't know if I'm qualified, good or bad. You can live in an area your whole life, and you can know that there's certain parts of town you wouldn't want to live in, but you don't necessarily know why. And it's kind of interesting to hear that breakdown as to why people might not want to live in a certain town, or why they would want to live in a certain town. And he breaks it down in Illinois, and he talks about, he mentions it all the time. I think he lives in Illinois and he's not happy with the state of that state. And I lived in Illinois for a while, and I kind of, I didn't really like it. I mean, there are parts of it that are nice, but then it's, I don't know. He said basically the problem with Illinois is that it has the second highest property tax rate in the United States. And so that makes it very unfriendly for people to want to start a business or operate a business. And so a lot of the towns outside of Chicago are shrinking. And even though they are small, a lot of them are smaller towns, they have a high crime rate and all sorts of good stuff. Poor schools. A lot of problems you find with a big city. And that's what I found when I lived there. I thought, oh boy, I'm getting my wish. I'm moving into a smallish town, and I can work and live in this town, and I might like it. And I moved to that town, and it was an armpit. It was disgusting. And it wasn't like a small town. It was like a small town as in it had nothing to show for it, but it had big city problems of gangs and crimes. They were blocking off the streets because they're having so many car chases. Things that you find in Chicago with the benefit of living in Chicago. And so what I found was basically a dying, sort of disgusting little town, dominated by industry that polluted the air and made the whole town smell like crap. It was not fun, and that was my impression of Illinois. And I went to visit other places in Illinois. I actually grew really fond of them. I visited Springfield, which seemed to be a pretty nice town. It has its problems too. And Champaign, Urbana, I love those towns. I visited those towns the most, especially Champaign. I fell in love with a little coffee house called Cafe Kopi, which is right downtown. I just killed time there and loved it. And Bloomington Normal and Lincoln, I love going around those towns. Lincoln was kind of small, but it was an interesting little town. And I explored some other towns. Charleston, I believe. Did I make it to Effingham? It's America. Effingham. Mattoon. I like the train station in Mattoon. And I missed my turn off. I don't even know where I'm at. Alright. Gots to turn around. That's an interesting car. But yeah. And then I visited some other smaller towns, and they just seem to be bleh, a bit too sneeze on one side of the town. Yeah, Illinois. I have a friend who lives in St. Charles, and he went to Parks Air College. which is on the east side of St. Louis, on the Illinois side. And he's like, oh, I love blah, 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 blah. And so we explored around there a little bit, and of course that area has a real nasty reputation. And it was sort of the same thing, as this guy pointed out. These towns, when they get down and out, they can't do when you have this huge strike against you. And it's not that the property tax, as he explained, it's not that the property tax is high and all the other states around it have the same thing, so there's nowhere for industry to go. So if they, he pointed out that the property tax there is high, but everywhere else, all you have to do is just go right over the border. And the first town that I saw him do his bit on was a town called Danville, which is right on the Illinois-Indiana border. And I went there one time, one of my days off. I didn't want to do that anymore. Like, sometimes you do this, and it doesn't help your mood, like maybe the weather is crummy, but you just go to places that are down and out. The people are kind of down and out, and you don't feel the love, you feel depressed. So that was Danville, and that was the first of his videos that I watched, and it was kind of remarkable. He explained it pretty well, I think. Well, the high property tax rate in the state drove all the or people who didn't have much hope for a future. What did he say it was? If that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, great. Move to a smallish town to deal with big city gang problem. And when we were there was this story about a church in Danville, and the caretaker of the church, kind of like the deacon, caretaker, minister, everything, he goes to open a door on the side of the church, and he saw a weird package there, and he like, what is this? And he opened the door, and it blew up and killed him. And it was a pipe bomb. And I'm like, who puts a pipe bomb in a church? And it made national news, and everybody went crazy. It was like one of the worst days of my life in the news business too, because of a certain crazy person in a crazy situation that happened. And then I remember, I don't like to be judgy, but I remember there was this family we interviewed, and every one of them had this strange bowl cut, and they all looked similar. They were kind of these pear-shaped people. I'm one to talk. And it was like, there's this very strong commanding presence in the family, which I believe was the mother, and we talked. It was just this feeling of crazy all the way around. And and you think about that, and you think about the pipe bombing in a church. Some of the things that are going on in this country right now, and it's the same kind of hateful, crazy. I have a friend who, he and his siblings grew up with a very zealous, religious mother. And, they claim that she did all sorts of things based on her faith. that was just really harsh and judgy and basically messed up her kids. That's coming from the kids' perspective, so take that with a grain of salt. Alright, well, it's now open. I came here earlier. It was closed. I was going to come here first, take care of my business. I probably won't be here anyway. And then go home, where I need to take my nap. So that's what I'm about to do. Alrighty then. We're here, we're queer, get used to it. Hee hee.